President Trump shook up the news cycle again today with some tweets highly critical of two cable news anchors. The broadcast networks led with the story tonight, and here's a sample of their coverage.
President Trump touting his energy policy today, but once again drowning out his own message with a tweet, this time lashing out at MSNBC's Morning Joe for criticizing him. How come low IQ Crazy Mika, along with Psycho Joe, came to Mar-a-Lago 3 nights in a row around New Year's Eve and insisted on joining me? She was bleeding badly from a facelift. I said no.
President Trump has turned crossing the line into a political art form. But when he lashed out at two cable TV hosts this morning, he may have ventured into new territory. Now members of both parties are calling him out.
And we begin with President Trump facing the collapse of healthcare negotiations and the North Korean nuclear threat. Instead tonight sparking condemnation with a pair of venomous tweets about the host of a cable TV news show.
Earlier, White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders reacted to the tweets.
Doesn't he have to meet a higher standard than cable news anchors?
Look, I don't think you can expect someone to be personally attacked day after day, minute by minute, and sit back. Look, the American people elected a fighter. They didn't elect somebody to sit back and do nothing. They knew what they were getting when they voted for Donald Trump, and he won overwhelmingly.
Okay, so obviously this dominated some of the news coverage today. You didn't hear much about North Korea or healthcare, but you did hear about the Mika and Joe Chronicles. So, Greg, what did you make of this situation, and also how Sarah Huckabee Sanders handled it?
I didn't like the tweet, but I detest them more. And I think that I have more in common with America than the people that are reporting on this. I mean, the horror is coming from the political world and the media world. But what about the world at home that has been treated like idiots by the political world and by the media world? Those two worlds think that America, for the most part, is stupid. So here you have Donald Trump going after a two-headed smarm machine, these craven opportunists that have been using Trump forever. Sometimes they love him, sometimes they don't. It is an incredibly strange codependent relationship they have. The guy's a real estate developer from Queens. He's not a professor of gender studies. This is what he's done all his life. He's a trash talker. And when he gets pissed off, that's what he does. And by the way, I'm also getting tired of saying that this is somehow sexist. It's sexist to expect somebody to treat a woman differently. He doesn't even care who he's insulting. His insults are every bit as harsh to women as they are to men. That actually makes him less sexist than the people calling him sexist because he treats a woman rudely. That was a rude tweet. But some of the crap that they've been saying in the morning, I don't know. I hate the fact, though, that he's made them into victims after all the sniping that they do. It's like, I don't want them to be the victims because they're just annoying, pretentious people.
And you loved their video.
Oh, God, the least talented man on earth.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Miss Perino.
Well, I've always rejected his personal attacks about anybody's appearance. I never laughed at any of the nicknames. I never thought it was good. Actually, it just made me crazy. The biggest winner in all of this is CNN. Because CNN was like the story of the week. And actually, he was on the upside of that. Nobody talked about that today, so that's over. That was blown off the front page. He says he doesn't watch Morning Joe. He's not alone. Okay. So here's the thing. If they're so irrelevant, why prop them up? And basically what's happened is they were going to go on vacation tomorrow. Now they are actually going to postpone their vacation. They become the heroes. I don't like any of the personal attacks that he does. The biggest insult that he could put against anybody is to ignore them because he's the president of the United States. It doesn't get bigger than that.
Let me ask
so anytime he's going to talk about it, he's punching down. The only two entities that win from these tweets are Trump and the media. Nobody that voted for him benefits by learning anything more about our plans on North Korea, what we're doing in Syria. He met with the South Korean president today. Nobody knows about that. The health care bill, they're trying to get a compromise on it. There's like 100 things that could have been talked about today.
Yes.
And but it's his choice.
But also,
this is what he wants to do.
And the media is going to cover it instead of, health care and, North Korea. But, perhaps maybe he didn't want them to talk about that the health care bill didn't go through yet. This is one way to knock it off.
But the members of Congress who are going home, that are trying to get this thing done need his help and the air cover that he can provide by saying that he is behind it.
So let me ask you something in the interest of, and you've been very consistent on this in terms of saying you don't like the personal attacks. But Greg makes a point that is very valid, that they engage in tremendous personal attacks against him and have said god-awful things
and
about
he's
the
not the first president to have to go through it. I mean, I worked for a president who was called a liar every morning.
Which was horrible.
And the thing is, and he never reacted. Now, he was criticized for not reacting. Maybe this is a good tactic for President Trump, and maybe we're in a whole new era. I'm not saying that you have to be like President George W. Bush, but I was raised to not act like that. And so it's hard for me to understand why commenting on somebody's personal appearance, even if you are attacked, I just prefer to let it go.
Okay.
And focus, especially if you're president of the United States.
Yeah, but this
you don't get bigger than that.
With, if you hit him, he's going to hit you back twice as hard, and he's very frustrated by the things that they say in the personal attacks. I've never heard Mika and Joe say anything like this about President Obama. I don't think, news anchors should speak like that about any president. There's no justification either way.
Yeah, MSNBC and these guys called President Trump a mentally ill dictator. The president shouldn't have sent the tweet, but I understand why he sent the tweet. He had a very long personal relationship with these two hosts. He'd been on the show for many, many years. They socialized on and off camera, and they had a very nice relationship for a long time. And then the Morning Joe people turned on him, and he feels personally betrayed. So he's responding emotionally. He's upset about it. And, what's this phrase, don't show up to a knife fight with a knife, show up to a gun. I probably butchered it.
Don't show up to a gunfight with a knife.
Right. That's how Trump operates, because he protects his brand like it's more precious than anything.
Well, he shows up with a Moab.
He shows up with the Moab. Now, I get the whole argument that it's sexist to go after a woman. And, there's also the argument that, the women want to be treated equally. So, you can't do that. But you said Trump goes after anybody. Old, young, black, white, poor, rich. It doesn't matter. But you know what? It's not the gentlemanly thing to do to comment on a woman's face like that. So I think you should have steered clear of that. I think right now it's counterproductive to the agenda. And it wiped off the CNN headline, and it wiped off these two great immigration headlines. But there's a lot of hypocrisy going on, because when the Democratic representative from Louisiana made the comment about Kellyanne Conway crouching in the Oval Office, vulgar, distasteful joke, Pelosi was asked about it, and she said, it's nothing, didn't condemn it at all, but now it gets right in front of a microphone. Also, Democrats talking about beneath the dignity of the office. These are the same Democrats defending Bill Clinton. And they responded more passionately to a Trump tweet than an ISIS attack. So, the outrage right now, there's a big double standard.
Some of these people didn't stand up for the president when they had the beheaded, Jihadi John, a.k.a. Kathy Griffin, showing the bloodied, severed head of the president.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there's a bit of a double standard there, which is disturbing. Go ahead.
Wow. Holy smokes. What a performance by 4 of the 5. I mean, you
Not
guys,
a performance, Juan.
You guys are back on your heels trying to make excuses.
No, I'm actually quite relaxed. Juan, don't start by insulting us.
There is no
Don't
way.
start by insulting us.
I
Just
mean,
do your fact. Do your fact.
Here's the deal. This is not normal. And you know what, Jesse?
Yes.
I think Lindsey Graham, I think Paul Ryan, I could go on, are Republicans, real Republicans. And they say this is not good. This is not acceptable.
Who here said the tweet was good, Juan?
So what?
Who here said the tweet was
No,
good?
everybody's like, oh, well, you know what?
Juan, this is
Micah and Joe, they said some things. I don't know.
Mika.
Whatever.
Yeah,
they
let's
said
not
some
insult
things
her.
too.
You just
And
called
people
her man's
call
name.
Donald Trump names, and they say and of course, Dana Prius said, he's not the first
I'm
president.
trying to give context to the controversy.
I see.
It's called context.
I appreciate it, but let's not get away from the reality.
Which is?
Where the reality is, Donald Trump today, as president of the United States, stooped to a new low. I don't know how you explain it to your kids. I don't know,
This isn't any worse than what he
Sarah
said in the
Huckabee Sanders
past,
said.
Juan.
Okay, I'll buy that. That was a
In
good one.
context,
It's
this is
nothing worse than
mild
what he said
compared
in
to
the
what he
past.
said before.
But I must
So
say,
relax.
when he gets back into the blood thing and women, I just find myself
Oh
going,
my God! He's
no.
talking about a surgical procedure.
Oh, no. Why
he said
is
that she was bleeding from the face
it's
from a
not only,
facelift.
and it's not only him, Dan Scavino, who tweets for him. Before that, he's saying dumb as rocks, Micah, jealous,
Mika,
whatever. But I just don't understand why the personal vindictiveness coming from the White House.
Well, what about from them?
You know what the word?
What about all the things that they said
what
about
did
him? They
Greg
called
say?
him a
bunch
thug.
of self-serving,
Look at him shaking
pretentious
hands.
media types.
I
is what Greg
agree.
said.
And by the way, you know what's worse than what he said? Calling ISIS JV, because that's a deed. You know what? We're talking about words. And by the way, the most transparent words you will ever hear, because people talk like this,
yes,
and they make these insults behind people's backs. He does it to your face, to your plastic surgeon face. And by the way, I will take crass tweets over any like calling ISIS JV is insulting to me. That's insulting to me more than this.
And
Acts are worse than deeds.
By the way, when they were there, Mar-a-Lago in May, the visit was so pleasant that he offered for them to get married at Mar-a-Lago or for them to get married at the White House with friends like that.